My name is Michael Hayes. I am 61 years old, and for the last 7 years I've been the wallet, the driver, the handyman, and the emergency plan for people who call my place home when it benefits them and your house, when they want to make decisions without me. It started the Thursday before the holiday week when Sierra, my daughter-in-law, strode into my garage like she owned the lease on my oxygen. "Great news," she said, waving her phone, nails immaculate and camera already open. 28 of my family are coming here for the holidays. It's going to be iconic. I told everyone you'd host. I let her talk. Sierra is relentless when she's pitching. She paced between my tool bench and the pegboard holding the wrenches I keep organized by size, clicking through a list. Her sister Paige, cousin Leo, her brother-in-law Tyler, Uncle Warren, a dozen cousins I'd never met, plus a few plus ones. She wanted a backyard fire pit vibe, matching pajamas for photos, and a cute vintage truck shot in my driveway. My truck, of course. "You'll book the rentals," she said, meaning the heaters, the chairs, the photo booth. "And you can do the airport runs. It'll save us a ton." I already told everyone we've got a lake view for the after-party. I do not live on a lake. I live on the edge of North Ridge, outside Columbus. There's a drainage pond behind the cul-de-sac where a goose once tried to fight my snowblower. I stared at her a long second, then flipped off the garage light and said, "Perfect." She misread the word the way a gambler misreads luck. "I know, right? It'll be perfect," I said, "because I won't be here." Her mouth stayed open, but the sound didn't arrive. The air compressor cycled once in the corner. That was the only noise for a beat. "What do you mean you won't be here?" she asked finally, like I'd told her gravity was optional. "I'm taking a trip," I said. "You and Eric can host your event." "This is our home," she said, that quick temper flaring. "Eric is your son. My family already bought flights. We're counting on you." "I'm not the venue," I said. "And I'm not the bank." I didn't raise my voice. For 7 years, I had fronted deposits, covered just-for-now bills, and fixed things on demand. I told myself I was keeping the peace, especially after my wife, Nora, died. Nora prized honesty over harmony. I'd been buying harmony on credit. But Nora valued honesty above all else, and I knew she would have hated the quiet lies I was funding. Nora used to say that peace built on pretense was a house with termites. You didn't see the damage until the beams gave way. I remember one Saturday years back when Sierra asked me to cover a payment, just this once. I hesitated, and Nora, still alive then, glanced up from her crossword. "If you say yes when you mean no, Michael," she said, "you're not being generous. You're being dishonest about what you can give." She had a way of stripping an argument to the studs. I shrugged it off that day, told myself I was keeping harmony. After she was gone, the silence in the house scared me, so I kept saying yes. Yes to errands, yes to bills, yes to hosting, yes to roles I never agreed to. I thought I was preserving family, but really I was just buying quiet. Sitting in that garage with Sierra talking about photo booths and lake views, I felt how far I'd drifted from Nora's kind of truth. The quiet in the house could get vicious if I let it. Sierra put a hand on her hip. "Eric won't allow this," she said. "Eric can allow whatever he likes," I said. "But I won't be here." Eric came home an hour later, loosened tie, tired eyes, a decent man with a blind spot big enough to land a plane. "Dad," he said, Sierra told me, "don't you think you're overreacting?" "No," I said. "I think I'm finally reacting." "It's the holidays," he said. "It's family. If family means I pay for everything, drive everyone, fix everything, smile for photos, and get called difficult the one time I say no, then maybe the word we're looking for isn't family." He rubbed his jaw. "We don't have the budget for rentals and shuttles if you back out. The deposit for our new loft pulled our savings." New loft. It was the first I'd heard of that. "Where?" "Downtown," Sierra said brightly. 3 bedrooms, skyline view gym. 23 minutes from here. It's perfect for hosting. Perfect for hosting, somewhere else, and still close enough to send their overflow to me. I pictured myself carrying cases of sparkling water up 4 flights of stairs and laughed out loud. "Congratulations," I said. "I hope you love it." They waited for me to add, "and I'll cover the movers." I didn't. Here's what Sierra didn't know. My perfect hadn't been spontaneous. It started in late September, on a Tuesday that tasted like coffee and metal. I'd gone to Eric's office, our old guest room, to swap out a surge protector that had been flickering. I moved a stack of binders and found a slim folder slid behind the printer. None of my business, except the corner sheet had my address in the header and a bank logo I recognized. I didn't snoop. Then I did. Inside were statements I hadn't seen, credit lines I hadn't authorized, and transfers labeled temporary that had turned permanent. Sierra's name appeared in places that turned my mouth dry. She'd opened store cards and a pair of personal lines tied to Eric's credit profile and to household income, which, for the better part of 3 decades, had been me. There were messages with Paige about leverage optics and the narrative, screenshots of my truck captioned Inherited Vibe, notes on Uncle Warren's habits, and how to signal stable hospitality. The number that made my thumb go numb, $73,000 in high-interest balances spread across pretty cards with free tote bags. That night I sat in my living room in the chair Nora loved, the lamp on low. There's a thin crack in the ceiling in that corner. House settling, the contractor said. And sometimes, when I'm up late, I stare at it and imagine it's a river on a map leading somewhere I don't have the courage to go. I slept an hour and woke to the stubborn kind of clarity I used to feel before a big job. I called a lawyer named Robert Allen who handled Nora's estate. I need to protect my house, I told him, and I need to know my exposure. We met. We moved my savings to a different bank. We placed the deed into a trust with no wiggle room. He referred me to a private investigator named Rose, short, direct, unafraid of bad news, who documented exactly how Sierra had been stretching what wasn't hers. Rose found the boutique job was part-time and the claimed income was a fiction. She found 2 cards opened with household, numbers, and my address, and a short, ugly thread where Sierra asked Paige if it mattered that she had told a cousin I intended to leave her my house and around $120,000 as a legacy. The worst part wasn't the lies. It was the math. I could have helped without the theater. I wrote 3 emails, one to Uncle Warren, one to Paige, one to Tyler, careful, polite, seeking advice about supporting young people through choppy waters. I included copies of a few statements, only what they needed to understand the scale, and told them I would be taking a long-planned break during the holiday week. I suggested they speak directly with Sierra about finances. Warren responded within hours. He did not use emojis. Tyler retracted every whispered promise about introductions and keeping opportunities in the family. Paige said, "I'll be there early." None of them told Sierra. They planned to talk face-to-face. So when Sierra announced 28 guests and content goals, my yes to me was already in motion. I booked a small cabin near Hocking Hills because the last time I was there, Nora stood under a rim of rock and laughed into the echo. I packed light, 2 flannels, a photo of Nora, a paperback I've pretended I'll read for 6 years. I wrote Eric a note, taking a break. "House is yours. Please respect my space. Dad." I locked up my good glassware because I know what boxes get crushed. I put my power tools in the back of my truck, the same one Sierra wanted for her cute vintage truck shot, and used it for my own getaway. I turned off the gas line to the backyard grill because heat and hubris are cousins. The cabin at Hocking Hills was nothing extravagant. Pine walls, a small stone fireplace, and a porch that looked out over bare trees. But stepping inside, I felt my chest loosen in a way it hadn't in years. The silence wasn't heavy, it was clean. I made a pot of strong coffee and sat by the window, watching the fog lift from the ravine. Nora and I had once hiked these same trails. She'd laughed at the way the cliffs echoed, shouting my name like a kid. I could almost hear it again in the distance. I picked up the paperback I'd dragged around for 6 years and finally cracked the spine. I didn't read much, kept stopping to listen to the creak of the porch boards, to the crackle of the fire, but even holding a book instead of a bill felt like reclaiming something. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't on call. The next morning, while they were still asleep, I left. I did not turn my ringer off because I am not reckless, but I moved the phone to the other room and listened to the woods breathe. The first call came at 9:20. "Dad?" Eric said. "Where are the rental confirmations?" "There aren't any," I said. Sierra thought. "I know what Sierra thought," I said. "You can rent what you need." "We don't have the money," he said. "Then you don't have the event," I said. Silence. "Then, can you at least do the airport runs?" "No," I said. "I'm hiking." By noon, I had 4 voicemails labeled urgent. At 3, a text from Warren, "We land early. We will stop by the house at 9 tomorrow morning. Looking forward to meeting you, and to a direct conversation. I answered, "I will not be there. Eric and Sierra can host you." He replied with one word, "Understood." The next morning, Eric called before the sun found the windows. "Dad," he said, voice thready. "Paige is here. Warren is on the way. Sierra's crying. Can you come back?" "No," I said. "At least talk to Warren," he said. "He's confused." "Then let Sierra explain," I said. "She's the one who made the promises." "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because the last time I saw my brother, 3 years ago, he asked me to come fishing on the day Sierra needed a ride to pick up a table I had not ordered, and I chose the table. Because I've missed the last two of my grandson's recitals sitting in a parking lot waiting for a delayed flight that someone insisted I could grab since you're already out. Because once, when my knees ached and my heart did too, I agreed to co-sign a short-term thing that wasn't short and wasn't a thing, and I knew if I didn't stop, the crack in the ceiling would widen until the room felt like a canyon. Because I'm done, I said. Warren called at 10. "Mr. Hayes," he said, voice dry as a judge's bench. "I'm in your living room. I would like clarity." "You will get it if you ask Sierra for the truth," I said. "I have asked," he said. "Her answers are elliptical." I told him what I knew. He did not huff. He did not threaten. He said, "Thank you," like a man closing a ledger, and handed the phone back, I assume, because the house got louder in the background. At dusk, curiosity got the better of me. I drove the truck back into town and eased past my street without headlights. The driveway was full of cars I did not recognize. The front porch looked like a delivery depot. Through the bay window, I could see a cluster of people hovering around the kitchen island like they were backing away from a small fire of their own making. My phone buzzed. "Paige, call me." When I did, she said, without preamble, "This is bad." "I know," I said. "She told people you promised her your house," she said. "She took $21,000 each from two relatives on the story that she was the future owner and would pay them back out of legacy money. She used Eric's name for lines he didn't open. That is not just bad judgment." "I am aware," I said. "Eric looks like a kicked dog," she said, not cruelly. "I don't think he knew." "I don't either," I said. And that was the part that hurt so much I had to sit in a dark parking lot until my chest stopped feeling like an iron band. When Nora was sick, there was a night in the hospital when she told Eric he had his mother's kind heart and his father's stubborn streak. "That's a dangerous combination," she joked, and we all laughed because we were terrified. Looking at my own house from the street, I felt the exact texture of her absence. Not the soft, gauzy missing of a song, but the hard, specific missing of a person who used to call me out when I was wrong and grab my face when I was lost. Paige said, "Warren is canceling everything that looked like support. We're calling in the small family loans immediately. He wants Sierra to understand there are consequences. She should pay back every dollar," I said. "Not because Warren says so, because it's right." "Michael," she said, softer, "are you coming home?" "Tomorrow morning," I said. "Good," she said. "Bring a spine. We need one more in the room." I did not sleep much. I took Nora's picture from the duffel and asked it questions the glass could not answer. At 5:43, I wrote 3 sentences to myself on a receipt. "You didn't cause this. You did enable pieces of it. You can choose something better." At 10 o'clock, I opened my own front door. Eric stood up fast like relief had a spring in it. Sierra sat on the couch with her hands clenched around a throw pillow like it was the last raft off a sinking ship. Warren leaned against the mantel with the look of a man who'd been proud and now felt foolish. Paige stood with a legal pad. Tyler hovered at the edge like a shadow that wanted to help. "Mr. Hayes," Warren said, formal but not cold. "Thank you for coming." Robert arrived 3 minutes later with a leather portfolio. He shook hands, placed papers on the coffee table, and said, "Let's put clean edges on messy things." Sierra stared at the documents like they were a live wire. "Why is a lawyer here?" "Because you have treated my house and my accounts like a suggestion," I said. "There will be no more suggestions." Robert explained the trust. He explained that the house could not be sold, mortgaged, or pledged without my written consent, now or later. He explained access. No more walk-ins. No more, "We were in the neighborhood." No more airport drop-offs without an ask and a yes. Eric handed over the spare key quietly. It hurt him. It hurt me too. Boundaries feel like loss a minute before they feel like relief. Paige set down her legal pad. "Sierra," she said, You told me Eric agreed to certain accounts. He did not. You told me Michael promised you the house and $120,000. He did not. You asked our cousins for $21,000 each using a story about legacy. That is fraud. Sierra swallowed hard. I was under pressure, she said. Everyone expects us to look successful. Everyone expects you to tell the truth, Warren said. When you don't, they stop expecting anything from you at all. Robert slid another paper across the table. This is a repayment plan for the family money. This is a repayment plan to handle this within the family. If this agreement is broken, the fallback is small claims court and a civil suit after that. If identity theft touched anything, there are more serious conversations to be had. Sierra stared at me, then at the hallway where Nora used to hang her coat and talk to the house like it was a friend. I thought you loved me, she said, a last try at a door that used to open. I do not want you to fail, I said. But I won't pay for you to pretend. Her chin shook. You just left. You ran. I did, I said, and the whole room looked at me. Because I've been running since the night Nora died. I ran into errand lists and spreadsheets because they were easier than sitting with grief. I ran into saying yes because I was afraid if I said no, Eric would eat alone and I'd hear the fork in the quiet. I should have stopped sooner. I'm sorry I didn't. Eric's eyes filled. Dad, he said. I should have seen it. I didn't want to see it. We both wanted easy, I said. Easy becomes expensive. We didn't hug. Not then. We signed papers. Sierra initialed a page with a hand that wanted to be defiant and couldn't. Warren shook my hand like two men signaling a truce after a long, stupid war. Tyler offered to help Eric call the cousins and apologize. Paige asked me for the name of my financial counselor. She said, I think Sierra needs a person who isn't family to tell her no. I said the name. I also said Sierra needs a job with a W-2 that matches her story and a life that fits her budget. Around 1:30, when the legal ink had dried and the plans had shifted from fog to bricks, the house felt hollow in a different way, air after a storm. I went to the hall closet and pulled down the plastic tub labeled Nora Decor. Inside, at the bottom, was the string of old glass lights we used to hang along the staircase every December, whether anyone was coming over or not. Eric, I said, help me with these. We untangled them the way you untangle anything worth keeping, slowly, with patience, with both of us holding our breath when the filament looked fragile. I plugged them in. Most of them worked. The ones that didn't, we replaced. Sierra watched from the couch, eyes shiny. She did love pretty things, she said quietly. She loved honest things more, I said. We didn't try to salvage the iconic backyard shoot. The rentals never arrived. A few of Sierra's relatives left that afternoon. The ones who stayed helped Eric order deli trays. We ate at my kitchen table on everyday plates with water in plain glasses and not a single staged candle in the frame. When someone reached for their phone to take a photo, they didn't pose us first. They just took a picture of people passing mustard and telling the truth. As the light fell early in that Ohio way that makes you check the clock twice, I walked out to the driveway with Eric. The air had the bite that says snow is possible, but not promised. What happens now? He asked, hands in his pockets, shoulders finally down from his ears. You figure out if the marriage you're in can be honest, I said. And you remember you're more than the mess you just discovered. And you? He asked. I'm going to stop running errands for my feelings, I said. I'm going to call your Uncle Dean and go fishing like I should have the last time he asked. I'm going to be a grandfather who shows up for recitals instead of for pickup lines at terminals. I'm going to sit in a quiet house and let it be quiet without trying to fill it with invoices. He nodded. I miss Mom, he said. Me too, I said. But I think she would like these lights. Eric rubbed his eyes with the heel of his hand. She wouldn't have let it get this far, would she? He asked. No, I said. Your mother would have stopped it at the first borrowed dollar. She was braver about conflict than I ever was. Eric nodded. Shame and relief tangled in his face. I wanted things to stay smooth. I thought if I didn't rock the boat, it would all work out. Smooth isn't the same as steady, I said. We both learned that the hard way. He looked back through the window at the staircase, glowing now with colored lights. I don't know if my marriage survives this, he whispered. Then start by surviving it yourself, I said. We stood in the cold and looked through the window at our own staircase dressed in color. For the first time in a long time, the quiet didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. The next morning, I drove back to the cabin and stayed one night just because I wanted to and not because I was hiding. I took Nora's picture to the rim of a gorge and told her we finally did the brave thing, set a hard line, and then tried to soften around it without surrendering. On the way home, I bought a new doormat that says welcome in plain letters. Under it, I tucked a note to myself. You did not cause it. You will not carry it. You can still love and say no. Under the new doormat, I tucked a note to myself. You did not cause it. You will not carry it. You can still love and say no. It was a boundary I could live with, a foundation Nora would have recognized. It felt, finally, like coming home. The quiet in the house finally feels like space, not punishment. It started with one hard conversation and the choice to keep it honest. I'm sharing this because I know I'm not alone.